There's a Peruvian writer I love, whose work is less known than he would deserve. His name is Julio Ramón Ribeiro, and he once said that writing is inventing an author fitting our taste. I think this is one of the trickiest things to do as a writer, to invent an author we as individuals can agree with, to invent an author that satisfies us. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about the process through which I came to invent this writer called Juan Gabriel Vásquez, who you will eventually forgive for what he's written. The word out there is that The Informers, this novel that I have come to promote to the US, is my first novel. This is a misunderstanding. I have been the first to give wings to. It's actually my third novel. The thing is, my first two novels are really very, very bad. And they have been shamelessly disinherited from my curriculum. After those novels, published when I was 24 and 26 years old, I published a book of stories, which is the one I consider my first serious attempt at fiction, my first, let's say, successful attempt at fiction. It's a book of stories set in the places where I have lived, where I have spent 4 or 5 years of my life in Belgium and in France. It's a series of love stories, of sad love stories, which were very satisfying for me to write, but nonetheless they left me with the idea that that I had to look for something else. I had to find a way to write about Colombia, which is something I had never been able to do. Those two disinherited novels are set in Florence and Paris, and that first mature book of fiction, the book of stories, is set in Belgium and Paris. The reason is mainly that I didn't, this is something I have talked about elsewhere, I didn't understand Colombia. I didn't understand my country. I didn't understand its politics. I didn't understand its history. I didn't understand its present moment. How have we become what we have become? I had grown up with the idea that writers write about what they know. This is the advice they give you at fiction courses. And I had grown up believing that is true, and I had grown up admiring writers such as Hemingway, who is a very fierce advocate of this idea, of the idea of writing from experience, and in that way writing about what you completely understand and dominate in a way. Since that was not the case with my country, I felt it wasn't authorized to write about it. And this was a source of many difficulties for me. The idea that I had grown up admiring a whole generation of Latin American writers who were expert at reinventing their countries. Perhaps the image all of you have of Colombia goes in a way through the novels of Garcia Marquez. And if anybody knows anything about Peru, it maybe has something to do with the novels of Mario Vargas Llosa. And Carlos Fuentes has redefined contemporary Mexico for us. And Julio Cortázar has told us what it feels to be an Argentinian in the 20th century. So not to be able to write about my country was a source of some preoccupations for me.